Hey everyone, it's Ivan with kitbadger.com, out here for another gear review, and today I'm talking flashlights, this little guy right here, which is the USB MacroStream by Streamlight. So, broad strokes, what is it? It is a everyday carry flashlight, and being rechargeable, USB, pretty handy, don't need batteries, and this, as I mentioned, is the MacroStream, not to be confused with the MicroStream. So the MicroStream, similar, just a little bit smaller, a little less output, and it also, basically two different modes. So this one on high, when you first press it, you have 500 lumens, and then if you press it and then press again, you now have 50 lumens. And if you want either of those, you can actually just click it on, and now it'll stay in whatever mode you had just set it on. Quick note with respect to the MicroStream versus this MacroStream. On the MicroStream, there's two different models. One is basically a black anodized, the other is like a tan anodized. For whatever reason, the black one defaults to the low setting, and then you click through to high, and the tan one defaults to the high setting, clicks through to the low. This goes high and then clicks through to low. For whatever reason, on the MicroStream, why those two different ones are the way they are, it is what it is. But this one, as I mentioned, click high, 500 lumens, click it again, and you're down to 50 lumens. So, not a bad little light. As far as kind of some of the features on this, right here, you lift this shroud up, and it's sealed with an O-ring. Also, this is IPX4, I think, as far as waterproof rating, and drop tested like 1 meter or something like that. But you lift this shroud up and you have access to the charging port, press it back down, it's sealed up. One thing kind of missed the mark, I feel like, is like, why is it not USB-C at this point, 2023? And it is what it is. So it's micro USB to charge this thing. When you plug it in and it needs to be charged, it'll basically glow red around there. And then when it's fully charged, it'll be green. Slide that guy back down. One thing I do like is basically a reversible clip. So you can clip this down into a pocket, or you can turn it and this piece opens. So you can actually put it on the bill of a hat and use it as a headlamp, which is pretty handy. One thing about this clip that I did notice is sometimes it'll kind of get stuck. More on that in a second. Other things of note. Well, 550 lumens. So 500 has a burn time of, I want to say, about 2 hours. Throw, they say, is about 90 meters. Maybe in complete pitch black, but even then, like, what are you identifying at 90 meters? Probably not much. With the 50 lumens, I want to say the throw is said to be 30 meters. Again, at that threshold with the 50 lumens, probably not identifying too much, but 50 meters and a 8-hour burn time. So 500, 2 hours, 50, 8 hours. Personally, I would actually rather have this 500 and then like 5, because you'd get a way longer burn time, and 50 lumens is actually quite a bit, especially if you're just doing something small right in front of you, whereas 5 lumens, more than likely to get that job done. Also, as a quick aside, when I first got this, I also got the Streamlight Wedge, which is their other like everyday carry. Kind of looks reminiscent of like a Surefire stiletto. And I was like, all right, sweet, like let's try this thing out. So I took it, left this one at home, ended up going up to the mountains for a couple days on a backpacking trip. So that first night, got up there and went to go make water, because we were out of water by the time we got there, and it was dark. And the clip on that one is just like, it'll just go in your pocket. It's not reversible, so you can't clip it on the bill of a hat, turn it in a headlamp. So sure enough, I have the light, it's in my teeth, I have it turned on, like I'm sitting at the edge of this like alpine lake, and of course, like you're drooling and everything like that, because it's taken a while to like get everything all set up, and then bounces off this granite rock straight into the water. And I guess it had turned off at that point. Yeah, because I couldn't see it, didn't know how deep it was. I was like, well, no more light tonight. Fortunately, I had a backup, which was basically my cell phone. But yeah, so the next day I went and saw the light down there. Managed to retrieve it, got that thing out of there. I was like, maybe I can reach it. Finally, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get kind of wet getting this thing, but managed to get it out of there. Still worked. Awesome. Promptly ended up losing it on that backpacking trip like the next day or something. Again, I don't know. I did not spend a ton of time with it. From the time I did spend with it, I think honestly they missed their mark. Things they did good. Form factor is nice and slim, albeit probably a little too long. USB-C charging, which I don't know why they didn't carry that over to this, but that was nice. But the way the switch worked and the difference in output, like you turn it on and you're like, okay, it's on now. And then you turn it on high and it wasn't that much higher. But yeah, wasn't a huge fan of it. This honestly, between the two, I think is a way better light. Which brings us to how have I kind of used this? I have pretty much been carrying it daily and using it quite a bit. Usually I will clip it over in my pocket, over off to the left side. More on that clip in a second. And it's handy. It's not bulky. It carries easy. I haven't like accidentally clicked it on or anything like that, which is nice because usually, especially with higher output lights, if you do that, you know pretty quick because it feels like your leg's on fire. And yeah, carries pretty well. As I mentioned, I do really like the reversible clip, so you can clip it onto the bill of a hat, use it like a headlamp. I will say more often than not, I don't usually get to use it that way. Reason being, I'm pretty pragmatic, so if I'm wearing a hat, it's usually because I'm just trying to keep the sun out of my face during the day. And then at night, when it's dark and I need that headlamp feature, usually not wearing my hat anymore. So often gets clamped between my teeth. It is what it is. Quick side note on that. A while ago I did a video on the value in doing hard things. Long story short, basically skied out, I think like 6 miles, did a bunch of shooting in like sub-zero temperatures, and eventually skied back. On my way back, I had this. I did not have a hat because it was below freeze or below zero, and I needed some light because I was skiing back in the dark. So I actually clipped this onto the belt and it cast a little pool of light in front of me, and I just stared at that pool of light while I skied the 6 miles back. Eventually though, I needed to shed layers or do something with gear, and I pulled this thing off, went to go clamp it in my teeth, and immediately my tongue and lips started to freeze to the aluminum body because it was below zero. Yeah. Pro tip, don't do that. So that happened. I will say during that adventure, because I did not have a hat and there were times when I needed both hands, I would take it and shove it basically up under my beanie. Does it work amazing? Not really. Does it work a little bit? Yeah, kind of. So basically made it work. One of the things I have noticed is the way this clip is bent back out is when you put it into your pocket, like these by Prometheus Design Works, and slide it down in there. If you shove it all the way down, what happens is that piece grabs essentially that stitching there. So when you go to pull it out, you cannot pull it out. It has to get past that. And I imagine that probably holds true. Well, I guess there's no other piece of fabric in front of it. So if you're just doing that, it doesn't really matter. But if you have something like that, where there's basically a captured piece, so if you have a pocket knife or a flashlight or whatever, you don't have that clip hanging down, then yeah, you can run into that issue. So basically I just don't shove it all the way down and it alleviates that. Being a everyday carry light, can you shoot a pistol with it if you're carrying concealed? You absolutely can. I ended up going out and doing some shooting with it on a couple nights. And then I also just kind of tested throw-wise with another light. The other light being I guess the Surefire EDC 1L. I think that's the nomenclature. Basically the 500 lumens or 5 lumens, has a little gas pedal tail cap. And yeah, here's what I got comparing those two. For reference, this is what we're looking at. This is a mini ADAP, I guess. Basically a reduced BC zone from TA target. So step back and check it out. Here we are at 10 yards. Here's the Surefire EDC, 500 lumens. And here's the MacroStream. Back to the Surefire. And the MacroStream. Here we are at about 25 yards. Here's the Surefire EDC. Here's the MacroStream. Back to the Surefire EDC. And the MacroStream. And here we are, almost 50 yards, probably 45 or so, and here's the Surefire EDC. And here's the MacroStream. Back to the Surefire. And back at the MacroStream at about 45 yards. As I mentioned, you can most certainly shoot pistol with this, and it honestly kind of lends itself to that with respect to kind of a everyday carry light, in the sense that, hey, where do you put value? Do you want this to immediately default to high, so that if you are going to end up using it with your pistol, bam, you don't have to like cycle through and try and get to the high setting? Or, hey, really am I just always using this for just a little small task where I want this to default to low? As I mentioned, this defaults to high, which personally I like, because if I need this, then I probably need all of those lumens. And if I don't need all those lumens right away, I can simply just kind of cycle to that lower setting. And if you're like, but what about if I give away my position? Okay, I'm not sure what scenario you're in, but if that's the case, you have time and opportunity to just cover it and then cycle from that high and get to that low setting. So kind of a non-issue. I will say, if you burn this thing all the way down as far as battery life, it just dies. It doesn't taper down to where it's like, oh, my flashlight's dying. It's just like, nope, you're out of juice, done. Which is kind of a bummer. I would honestly rather it taper off, so it's like, oh, my flashlight's dying, rather than just like, oh, my flashlight died. But it is what it is. Honestly, I think it's a pretty solid everyday carry light. Super usable, easy to carry. I really like that it's rechargeable, so you're not just burning through batteries. And yeah, no, it's done a good job for me. Price-wise, you can find them usually over on Amazon for a little under 60 bucks, which I think is pretty valuable, especially, yeah, rechargeable, not buying batteries, and really durable. Pretty sure this has gone through the washing machine a couple times, not on purpose. But yeah, overall, pretty solid light. And last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it, whether it's liking and sharing videos or supporting me directly, either through Patreon or over on Utreon. All that stuff helps me go out, create more content for you. And if you have questions for me, happy to answer them. Over on Patreon, we have active Discord, and yeah, answer all your questions over there. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.